You suck at playing Sentinel. Now, Sentinel is one of the most powerful roles in the game, but actually so many people consistently mess up these 8 things. So we're gonna break down everything you need to know so that you can start dominating on what many believe is the most powerful individual role in the entire game. The number 1 is understanding your win condition. On Sentinel, you are faced with split-second decisions that can often dictate your team's approach to confirming wins. One situation that will often be thrown at you is staying on site to fight or running back to play retake. There's a lot you gotta factor in, like info, time, space taken, ultimates available, and how many teammates you have on your side of the map. A lot of people want to be told, hey, if you're on this character holding this site, always play retake, or always do this, or always do that. But what you actually need to do is, based on all of your resources available, decide what is most likely to get you that win in the round. Maybe that means giving up site and going and playing retake, giving up all of that space, but at least grouping up with your teammates to follow up of like an initiator utility or something like that. Or it maybe means holding the space as long as possible, even if that means you're dying, but maybe you're going to be able to delay, confirm multiple kills, and buy time for your team that are actually occupying mid space or some place close to you so that they might be able to help you in time and trade you out. Now, even though Sentinels have really powerful utility, if you can't aim well to capitalize on all your opportunities, you're leaving a ton of value on the table. And a Sentinel that can aim is a freaking demon. And that's why you got to check out our Aim God course on the SkillCapped website, where we go over the aim fundamentals that you can use when you're using your utility to just completely dominate duelists over and over again. They come out on the site and you shut them down again and again. And right now we offer a money back guarantee, so if you don't climb, you don't pay. So what are you waiting for? Check it out in the links down below, and let's get back into the video. Now, a big mistake that a lot of Sentinels make is actually lurking too much. When you're on Sentinel, you want to lurk. Lurking's really powerful on Sentinel, but you don't want to do it every single round. This is where you have to change your playstyle on a game-to-game basis. Maybe one game the enemy has trips on lurk lanes and are holding for you, and you'll likely get more value just hitting with your team instead. But on other times, the enemy might fight into you a lot, giving you the opportunity to win the round off your lurk. It's about recognizing the enemy macro playstyle and adjusting your own to counter it. I like to view the Sentinel role as the X factor on attack. It can be really hard to find value, but the better you are, the easier it'd be for your team to capitalize on their pushes and opportunities. The number 3, you need to think of Postplant like a defensive setup. This is really important for Deadlock and Vyse mains out there, but it can really be applied to any Sentinel. Once you get to Postplant, your utility can be insanely strong and lead to free wins. Literally, you have to think of playing Postplant like you are holding a site on defense, only you have your entire team to help you win. Set up Vyse flashes or Deadlock stunts and use these to fight alongside your entire squad. And in many situations, you are going to be the one that has a crazy amount of impact in these Postplant environments, with enemies having to push into your utility. So this is also a quote-unquote win condition that we talked about in the first tip. Another mistake is setting up too late. This one happens to even the best players, and it's getting your setup down too late. How many times have you thrown a Killjoy molly or a Cypher trip right as the barrier drops and think to yourself, did the enemy team hear that? Did they get that little piece of information? This could be a big reason you feel the enemy team never hits your bomb site. They hear utility and go the other way. The only thing that helps with this is having a couple of setups for each site that you can get down and understand how to play around. If you're ever stumped, just get your utility down before the round starts. Do your best to play around it, but really having some defaulted setups in your mind that you can always filter through and just be able to do without really thinking about it is best case scenario. And number 5, you need to know that you don't have to perfectly time every piece of utility. Many times Sentinel players, like a Killjoy player for instance, will try to trigger their utility off the perfect timing, but oftentimes making sure it pops is better than it possibly getting broken. One example of this is when the enemy has a Killjoy or a Raze that likes to destroy your utility. Preemptively popping your Killjoy mullets can stall enough for your rotators to help, even if it's not going to be able to actually do a whole bunch of damage. And number 6 on the list is talking during lurk. Another thing many Sentinel mains fail to do is communicating on their lurks. I understand you want to be the cool silent type, but you gotta communicate to your team because you're gathering more information than anyone else. Remember how I mentioned that Sentinels can be the X factor that makes life easier for their team? This is a way to build on that. When you get into deep lurk positions, obviously Obviously, getting kills is great, but you need to tell your team what you hear and be commanding when they need to rotate. If you hear 3 enemies run to A, but you can't kill any of them, just call your team back and enjoy the free sight. But if you don't say anything and your team constantly are pushing into disadvantaged fights, it could be your fault that your team is consistently losing, and that's why lurking on Sentinel is super powerful. Even if you don't necessarily kill everybody, just gathering that extra bit of info, super strong. Now, number 7 is understanding your enemy's plan. You need to recognize when your opponents know your setup so that you can change it up and catch them off guard. Many Sentinels players fall into the trap of doing that same setup every single round, even after it gets initially countered. If they countered it one round, they're gonna do the exact same counter in the next round, so you need to be able to alter your setup to something else. Try slightly adjusting utility, positioning, or even the site you play on. The more unpredictable you can be when holding a site, the worse the enemy will react. And remember, they walk up, use their utility to deny your setup every single time, but if it doesn't hit anything, all of a sudden they might be thinking, well, I could try to clear this, but then I might be wasting my utility, so then maybe they don't. And the more unpredictable you are, the less likely enemies will actually be able to shut you down consistently, and you'll often catch them off guard. And then the enemy will be like, Silver, why didn't you shock dart this position? He's like, oh, well, he didn't have a setup there last round. And then it's like, you're really messing with them. And Sentinel is like the tactician's role. You're the strategist. You're the one that if you can set up the proper conditions, the enemy is going to have an extremely hard time winning a fight against you. Doesn't matter their aim or anything else. If you can set up these right conditions where they're playing into your utility or they're trying to retake into your utility, you could auto win the game. So you got to make sure that no opponent solves your strategy and that you have enough good, strong variations to your setup so that you're not just doing a really bad setup just so that it doesn't get countered. You have other strong setups that you can utilize depending on the situation. Then number 8, and one of the most important things, is trap plays. A common misconception is that duelists are the only characters that can combo with teammates, but Sentinels have some of the best combo utility because of something called trap plays. Trap plays are when you put any type of info trap, including Cypher trip, Killjoy turret, alarm bot, Vyse wall, and many more. The main goal of a trap play is to collapse massive amounts of utility down the second the trap gets info. So like as an example, you can have duelists, initiators, whatever, holding a flash, a stun, a scan, and the second that your piece of utility pops off, every single person is dumping their utility in response. So you don't even really have to think about it. It's just when this gets triggered, these abilities get dumped. And oftentimes from the enemy's point of view, it's like they activated a trap card and then they just get dumped with a ton of utility and die. And they're like, what the hell? But if you really want to get better at Sentinel, it's really about constantly learning and constantly evaluating the decisions that you made. Did you make the right decision? Did you rotate at the right time? Did you commit to the right fight? These are all really important things that you have to ask yourself, and the more you do, the better you'll get. But if you need some extra help, definitely check out SkillCapped. You can check it out right here, and I'll see you next time.